Hello, I'm Philip Hughes, and this is the final film in a series introducing the analysis of quantitative data. This film is about multivariate analysis, about analysing several variables at the same time. Multivariate analysis is a complex process, and this film is just a brief introduction to one of the major forms of multivariate analysis: regression. The aim is to show something of the value of such forms of analysis and how to set up your surveys so that you can use such forms. But if you're going to use multivariate analysis, I would strongly recommend that you do a course, such as an Axbury course, on it, and learn how to do it thoroughly and properly. Multivariate analysis is powerful because you can look at the relationship between a number of variables at the same time. Or, to put it another way, you can look at how strongly one variable influences another variable while holding many other things constant. Such analyses cannot prove causation, but they certainly get closer to it than bivariate or univariate analysis, because they can measure the effect of one factor while taking into account a whole range of other things which may also have an influence. So multivariate analysis really moves us beyond purely descriptive research and into the realm of analytical research. The most common form of multivariate analysis is regression. However, regression itself can take multiple forms depending on the sort of data the one is handling. PSPP provides the possibility of doing two different forms of regression: linear regression and binary logistic regression. Linear regression is the primary form and is based on the use of scales, which are assumed to have a linear relationship with the variable you're trying to explain. Binary logistic regression is used when you have data which is all in the form of 0, 1. Linear regression is based then on interval or scale data. So you can only enter scale data into the analysis. However, it does accept data in the form of variables which are 0 or 1. That is, it's possible to include variables such as gender by recoding them to 0, 1 variables. If you recode all men as 0 and all women as 1 and enter that into the regression, you are effectively asking whether being a woman makes a difference. If you have a series of nominal categories you wish to enter, you can change them all into 0, 1 measures. So religious identity could be changed into a series of 0, 1 for each religion. However, for this to work, you cannot include every single variable. One category has to be left out of the equation, which becomes the variable that is assumed as the basis for the regression analysis. And you look then at the influence of the other variables. Church attendance would usually be recoded in the number of times that people attend church per year to make it a meaningful scale. So weekly attendance becomes 52, monthly attendance becomes 12, annual attendance becomes 1, for example. Having recoded all the variables, they are then entered into the regression equation. You enter into the top box the dependent variable, the variable you expect to be influenced by these other factors, the variable which you want to explain. Then below you enter into the equation the independent variables, the factors which may explain the dependent variable. You then choose the statistics. the R statistic is particularly important. Here's a roughly done example. I'm looking at whether religion has a significant impact on the number of hours of volunteering that people do for the sake of the wider community. In the survey, I've asked people how many hours of volunteering they do for the wider community, and so that becomes my dependent variable. My independent variables then are many and various. I enter below several variables which measure different dimensions of religion. There is people's religious identity with evangelical or Pentecostal churches, which has been recoded as a 0-1 factor. I also enter people's belief, and again I've only got a simple measure of that, so whether people say that they affirm belief in a personal God or not is the item that I enter. I enter the scale of the frequency of church attendance, which has been recoded as I indicated. But I also want a control for other variables which I have seen from other research can have an impact on rates of volunteering. The level of formal education, for example, whether the person is female or not, the age of the person, the level of health that people have. It's also possible the patterns of volunteering are learnt at home as children, and so I put a measure of the extent to which parents are reported as doing volunteering. Let's then have a look at the results of this. The R-squared factor tells me how much of the variance in the dependent variable has been explained by all the factors in the regression equation. A result of 0.01 tells me that all these factors explain just 1% of the variance. None of these factors are very important. There must be other factors which I have not measured. My suspicion is that people respond to need in their family, need on their doorstep, and do so whether they're educated, religious, or whatever. However, I can still look at the different factors and see if any are marked as significant. I find a couple of them are. Church attendance and parental influence are both significant. But none of the other factors are significant in the hours of volunteering. It's interesting that it is religious attendance and not belief that is shown by this particular equation to be significant. And it suggests that the way that religion influences people to volunteer, or at least influences them in the hours of volunteering that they do, is not by motivating people through encouraging particular beliefs, but through providing opportunities for people to become engaged in volunteering, and a community which encourages people to maintain their levels of volunteering. Through this work, I've discovered something significant. And I do encourage you to use these powerful tools, as they can take us further in identifying how our world and our society work, and how we can best make a difference in our world.